Hello, faithful friends of the internet. I'm Jason Mayfield. This is Grace for Today, the show where I teach the Bible and help you experience grace for life through Jesus Christ. Today, we're going to do something different than we've been doing. Going to start adjusting some format things. We're 25 episodes in now, and with that adjustment, we are going to jump right into what's going on with the content today. Even though that's tough, because last night I was up late, full of vision, just absolutely pumped, could hardly go to sleep. But I got up this morning at 4 a.m. so I could get a jump on all of this stuff. And so hopefully I'm getting way ahead on episodes today. One adjustment I'm going to make this Monday morning is I'm going to move that out of the way. Okay. It's out of the way now. I'm happy. All right, here we go. You ready? Today's teaching is going to be called The Law Makes Us Hostile Towards God. There's no better way to start a Monday morning than to talk about hostility. And that's what we're going to do. So let's hop in. We're going to look at Romans chapter 8, verses 6 through 8. So if you have your Bible, grab it. Let's go there together. I'm giving you enough time to get it. 3, 2, 1, here we go. For the mind set on the flesh is death, but the mind set on the spirit is life and peace, because the mind set on the flesh is hostile towards God, for it does not subject itself to the law of God, for it's not even able to do so, and those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Now, one thing I need to point out about that passage, because I know if you're reading it, you're thinking, well, that doesn't say that the law makes us hostile towards God. That says that the flesh makes us hostile towards God. But if you read Romans 8 in that context, you're going to see that the flesh is talking more about the flesh that tries to achieve its own righteousness versus, someone who walks in the Spirit, or walks in the new covenant. And so you have to kind of go back and look at that. I'm not going to walk you through all of that today, but that is something that you have to look at yourself. So let's jump in here today. I want to give you less of a declaration that the law makes us hostile towards God, because that's pretty clear in the text. But what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about why. And, for those of us who are coming up under a grace revelation or have received a grace revelation, one of the things that's really critical for us is we have to be aware that we have a natural gravitation towards the law. We just have a natural gravitation there. There's a natural pull. I go back to Galatians 1:6 a lot, where Paul says this. He says, I'm surprised that you have so quickly deserted the gospel for another. In other words, I always think it's interesting that Paul doesn't say there, I'm shocked that you've deserted the gospel. He says, I'm shocked that you've so quickly deserted. In other words, I kind of thought you guys would do this eventually, but I'm kind of surprised it's happened this fast. And so there's just a natural gravitation towards the law. Even up under grace, there's a gravitation towards the law, and we have to be cautious. I remember this. I tell this story a lot, that when Allie was born at 24 weeks in the hospital, one of the first things I did once Ashley was kind of out of her fog of, the labor and all of that, is I just looked at her and I said, hey, I want us to remember we are the righteousness of God in Jesus Christ. This isn't happening because of anything that we've done. This isn't going to get better because of anything that we do. We are the righteousness of God in Jesus Christ. What I don't normally tell people, and I have this on tape somewhere, but in the pulpit, I actually said something completely different. And it wasn't that I had churched it up or anything in the pulpit. It just naturally came out of me. And I got up in the pulpit when I'm updating the church on everything that's going on, and essentially said, we've been faithful, we've served God, and now we're going to ask Him to do us a solid. In other words, I'm going to trust Him. So we have to be careful, because that thing, we can just gravitate towards that thing real easily. We can gravitate back towards the law without even realizing that we're doing it. So I want to give you some things to be mindful of, but some of the reasons that once we come up under the law, because the interesting thing about the law is that it is good, it's righteous, it's holy, it's pure, it's good for anyone who does use it lawfully, but it also creates issues for us in terms of our standing and our righteousness with God. So I'm telling you, it's an interesting dynamic. But I want to give you some things that'll help explain why we have to be cautious of the law and how it creates that hostility with God. And I want to be very clear. I'm talking about hostility. I'm talking about being upset with God, being upset with him, being angry with him. You know, a mixture of law and grace has disillusioned so many people that they've come into a situation where they just feel like it's not even worth serving God because they're never going to be able to live up. When in fact, Jesus has already lived up on their behalf. So let's start here. Number one, the law reminds us of our inability. Look at this in Galatians chapter 3, verse 24. Therefore, the law has become our tutor to lead us to Christ so that we may be justified by faith. Notice that it says there that the law has become our tutor. If you're getting a tutor, I remember back in Birmingham, Alabama, where I was raised, I had to go to Sylvan Learning Center one year for math. I didn't go because I was great at math. I went because I was having issues. And when you need a tutor, it highlights your inability. And so our inability is highlighted by the law, but our inability produces in ourselves frustration and resentment. Because here's the deal. While this is the correct function of the law is supposed to bring you to the end of yourself. The law is supposed to get you to a point where you go, I can't do this on my own. I need Jesus Christ. That's the purpose of the tutor. The law is not supposed to tutor you to keep the law. The law is supposed to tutor you that you need Jesus Christ. The law is supposed to tutor you in showing you that you can't keep the law. The law tutors us by showing us our inability. The problem with that is that if you constantly put yourself back up under the law, especially once you've come into a new covenant realization, if you're constantly putting yourself up under the law, it's going to grind against your nature. Because your nature wants to do things well and do them right and be able to do them on your own. For instance, it's like with kids, man. Kids doing things. Man, my kids, sometimes, and I won't be quiet because they're waking up and getting ready for school. I don't want them to hear me, putting all their business in the street. But then again, they don't pay rent up in this hood. They are no rent paying little fools is what they are. I'm just telling you right now. But listen to me. My kids will sometimes do the exact opposite of what I tell them to do just so they make a decision, just so they have skin in the game. I will watch my daughter, my youngest daughter, Allie, I will watch her consistently take the longest route to everything. Last night, she gets up to get some ranch for her chicken tenders. And this child, there's like a direct path to the fridge. I mean, there is little to no obstruction between me and the ranch. And this child basically walks around the entire living room perimeter in order to get over to I'm like, what are you doing? You're just going the long way for no reason. My older daughter, she'll do the same thing. I'll say, hey, do this. She'll do the exact opposite. And just so she has skin in the game, because we naturally want to be able to accomplish things in our own ability, especially things that we've been asked to do. And some of that, paternal struggle that your kids have between parents and kids, that we got to remember that God is our Father. And so some of that's going to manifest there a little bit too, just by the nature of things. And you also need to remember this. Certain personality types are going to struggle with this more than others, especially those personality types like mine that are a little more execution driven. I'm like, I want it done. I want it done well. I want it done right at the end of it. Sometimes I'm less concerned with it being effective than I am at just being done correctly. Now, that's not right. I'm not saying that's okay, but that's just my personality lean. And so certain personality types are going to be affected really negatively when they come back up under the law, because it's going to remind them of how little and insufficiently they can produce. Now, number two, the law brings our righteous standing into question. The law brings your righteous standing into question. Look at this in 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. It says, "But we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, realizing the fact that the law is not made for a righteous person." So here's the deal. The moment you come back under the law, the moment that you start to put yourself back up under my performance produces God's favor in my life, the moment that you put yourself back up under the law, it's going to start bringing the status of the relationship into question. It's going to make you question the status of your righteousness, the status of the relationship. Why? Well, because you have done something now that you've put yourself in a category that you're not supposed to do. I saw this really funny. It was really crude, but it was really funny TikTok the other day where a girl was filming her husband get in the car, and she was pretending to be on the phone. And when he gets in the car, she goes, "Hey, I got to go. My friend just got in the car." And he goes off because he's like, "I'm not your friend. I'm your husband," and he is going nuts on her about this. And the reason is that there was a question of the relationship that's now introduced. There's an unrest in the relationship. As a matter of fact, when we come up under the law, we position ourselves as unjust. I like the way that the ESV says it. The law is laid down for the unjust and not the just. The law is not laid down for the just, but for the unjust. And when you put yourself in the status of the unjust, the relationship coming into question creates unrest. It creates anger, and it can create estrangement. I'm telling you, more people leave the church over the mixture of law and grace because they come up under this great loving God who accepts them unconditionally, draw the grace line, now we'll cross over to law, who they can never make happy, who they can never keep pleased, who nothing they do for ever produces any fruit that looks like blessing. They can't get any of their prayers answered, even though they're doing everything they know how to do in their own strength and their own ability, because that's what they've been being told to do from the pulpit. And so more people become estranged from God because of the mixture of law and grace than from sin, from wanting to live in certain lifestyles, from wanting to, come on, somebody. This is the issue. The issue is not that there's sin in the church. The issue is that we're still putting people under the law in the church. And you think about how it affects relationships. The other day, I want to say it was like yesterday maybe, Ashley woke up. She was kind of on the run, and it seemed like she was really making an effort not to talk to me. She wasn't. She doesn't like to talk in the morning. I know this. But after 13 years of marriage, I still, when she don't talk to me in the mornings, I feel like she's mad at me. I know she isn't, but that's how I feel. And so, the whole morning, I'm feeling this unrest because I feel like, there's something going on funky with us. And then I'm starting to get angry with her because she has made me feel funky and everything. And the angrier I'm getting, the less I'm wanting to have anything to do with her for the rest of the day. And so but that's how the relationship or the status coming into question affects us. Number 3, the law exacerbates your problem. Look at this in Romans chapter 7. For while we were in the flesh, the sinful passions which were aroused by the law were at work in the members of our body to bear fruit for death. The law, listen to me, the law will not produce the positive results you're hoping for. The law is not going to produce the positive results you're hoping for. You have got yourself in a position now where you've come up under the law and you're going to try to keep it perfect, which you can't do. You're going to try to get God's favor through the law, which you can't do. And so when you come up under the law, you're not going to get the results you want. Recently, Allie, our younger child, actually just this past weekend, my wife and Jocelyn took a trip to Michigan, where her family is. And so me and Allie were here and took this as an opportunity to teach Allie how to tie her shoes, because she didn't know how to do it yet. End of the story, she's a shoe tying machine now. And she ties shoes. As a matter of fact, we did a championship. This is Allie's shoe tying championship for Build-A-Bear. She had to tie her shoes 12 times in front of me in order to do it with no help. So she had to do it with no help. And she only got it wrong 2 or 3 times, and you just had to keep going. But she won a Build-A-Bear. That was my incentive. You get a Build-A-Bear. Y'all, this Build-A-Bear cost me $100. Can you believe that? $100 Build-A-Bear. Just a little bit of stuff. Give him a little outfit. I had to buy him shoes, because that's why we learned on tying shoes. So, and y'all, it's not even a bear. It's a cat. It's a Build-A-Cat. It's a Build-A-Cat. But anyway, while we were learning how to tie her shoes, part of the problem for her is that she was getting frustrated in the process, because there was a point when things weren't getting better, they were just getting worse. She would follow all the steps, so she thought, because I had her doing it with videos, and I would come in and help, but I found some YouTube videos and downloaded them. So we actually don't let our kids do YouTube. So I downloaded the YouTube videos and gave them to her. Because even though my channel is great on YouTube for kids, some crazy stuff out there. You need to be careful with your kids on YouTube. I'm just telling you. Also, we saw a major change in their attitudes when we took them off YouTube, just so you know. But she would watch the video. She would follow the steps as best as she knew, but she would keep getting everything into a knot, or she would go and do the last move and the shoe would just come untied. And she was thinking it was getting better, but it was actually getting worse. It was just getting worse. And we need to remember this, that relying on the law to solve our issues will constantly leave us feeling disappointed and disapproved. Because when we go through the gateway of the law will never produce results. It only brings you back to the point where you realize you need Jesus Christ. Well, when we stay up under a grace revelation and we don't put ourselves in a situation where we're constantly having to be reminded that we need Jesus, but we stay mindful of Jesus. We don't just need to have the mind of Christ. We also need to have Christ on our mind. And when we have that constantly in our brain, when we're receiving the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness, we can reign in life. Romans 5:17. When we're doing that, we start seeing results in our life. Now, what we have to do to overwhelmingly conquer in life is we have to focus on the love of God, which we are going to talk about in the next episode. So listen, today I want to ask you to do something if you appreciate this teaching. Go over to jasonmayfield.com and sign up to get Grace for Today updates. I want to make sure that you're getting those Grace for Today updates over at jasonmayfield.com. I really believe that they're going to bless you every day, and that way you never miss a video, especially tomorrow when we focus on the love of God versus the law of God. Until next time, I'm praying that you continue to experience grace for life through Jesus Christ. I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Before you run away, you could click some of these things right here and watch them. I think those might be videos that interest you. Or you can click my face and subscribe to the channel, which really helps me because it boosts our algorithm, helps us share the gospel with more people, but also helps you stay informed. I've been talking this whole time just so you could do this.